A new report reveals that nearly half of Ontarians are using some form of AI in the workplace. However, the study conducted by digital marketing provider GrowClass in partnership with Angus Reid and also found that most workers have not received proper training to use AI effectively on the job. For more on this, I'm joined by technology analyst Carmi Levi. Carmi, good afternoon. Thanks a lot for talking to us. So, AI, we hear that so much. What does it really mean? Like, what is the simplest form of AI that we use daily?
I mean, I think the tool that everyone uses, it's almost the Google of the AI era, ChatGPT. So this was released coming up on 3 years ago. 700 million people are using it now. And just like Google a generation ago, they're increasingly using it at work, even if their employers don't have an actual plan for figuring it out. Workers are still rolling up their sleeves and trying it out and seeing what works and seeing what doesn't. And this survey shows that there's a huge gap between kind of where we're at and where we need to be, is that lots of people are using it, but no one's getting any formal instruction. A lot of companies aren't actually taking the time to explain to their workers, these are the tools, this is how we're going to use them in our work, here are the resources we're providing for you. And that kind of hints at, we're probably going to need further research, but it hints at kind of a lag. In other words, we're using these tools, but we're not getting the most out of them because there isn't any framework for figuring it out.
Okay, so Carmi, along with that, can you maybe give us some examples of like improper ways of using AI?
Sure. I mean, so for example, you can get ChatGPT to write a report for you, and you cut and paste it out of ChatGPT into the document, and you distribute it to all of your workers and your boss. Yet you don't bother checking your work. And we know that AI tools have a hallucination problem. They often get things wrong. Sometimes, for example, we've seen in the legal field, they will cite cases that literally did not happen. So if you're not checking your work and you're not digging into the results and making sure that AI got it right, you could be getting yourself, your team, your company into significant trouble. And we've seen lots of headlines over the last couple of years about people doing just that, not recognizing the fundamental weaknesses in AI, which can lead to some significant legal exposure.
Carmi, I'm kind of chuckling a bit because I think I just heard somebody in my control room, Jamie, laughing when you were talking about that same example, because she may or may not have done that same thing. So, I know we don't have a lot of time. Let's talk about ways that we should be using it effectively and how to do so.
If we think about workflows in the office, as well as in our personal lives, AI works best at the beginning of the workflow, not at the end. In other words, use it as a thought starter. Use it to help brainstorm so in other words, if you're faced with a blank screen and a blinking cursor, you're just getting started, use it as a way of kind of pushing you, getting some ideas, generating lists, and kind of blocking out the work and then filling it in. But you should be the last touch on anything that you work on before you hand it in, before you distribute it. And so recognize that AI isn't perfect, that it's the human that still has to be the one who looks at it last before it gets seen by anyone else. That is kind of the key lesson of the AI era. And it's probably going to be like that for a while because the way AI is structured, it's fundamentally imperfect. It won't get it right 100% of the time.
Okay, so Carmi, Jamie just got into my ear. She let me know that it was her cover letter that she did that for. So, okay, let's say we're in that type of situation. How can we try to put the toothpaste back into the tube?
There is no, the toothpaste is out, it's not going back. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, Bakari, because the tools are getting better. They're becoming increasingly pervasive. We now have AI-capable browsers, AI-capable word processors. I mean, the tools themselves are becoming smarter. So really, it's just a matter of recognizing that, we're going to be using these things whether we like it or not. We need to work with our employers that if they're not bringing the training tools to us, we should be bringing the resources to them. We should be having conversations with our leaders, with our supervisors, explaining to them how we want to use these tools in the workplace, and making suggestions, sometimes based on AI suggestions, on how we can be incorporating them into our work. Employers, if if you're an employer and you're not actively engaged in this kind of conversation, you're at risk of being outcompeted by other companies that do it better than you. So if you're an employee and you're looking for a way to kind of stand out from everyone else at work, be the AI champion in the office, and I'm sure your leaders will respond accordingly.
Okay, well, Carmi, along with that, taking a look at this survey and the findings, it talks about confidence. How do we improve that?
We improve it by checking our work. In other words, and I'll speak from personal experience. I use AI in my work as well as a thought starter. But what I do then is I will dig when I get a response back from a chatbot, for example. I will do additional due diligence, follow those links home in the cited work of an AI bot to make sure that you can find where it got that information from. You're confident in the source, and if you're confident that you know where the AI bot got that information from, then you can confidently incorporate it into your work, into your writing, into your reporting. And that makes a huge difference in terms of raising the level of your work, but also having confidence that you're not getting it wrong because AI didn't get it wrong. You checked it.
Okay, so with that, am I right in saying that maybe we should look at AI as more of an assistant than a partner?
That's exactly it. We want AI to complement our work, not replace it. And every time we hear these dystopian stories about AI replacing jobs, the reality is the technology isn't quite there yet. And a lot of companies that have introduced AI to replace humans have in many cases backtracked on those plans afterward, rehired the people who they displaced. So if you're thinking of how do I make AI work for me, think of it as one other tool in your toolkit. So you add it to the toolkit in addition to all the other things that you're using, but recognize that you're still the one in charge. You're still the one who decides ultimately how all these things have to pull together. AI is just another powerful new way of allowing you to get there.
Okay, and with that, tech analyst, human, Carmi Levi.
Thanks, Bakari.
Thanks a lot.